Yes.
Here it is. And we are live, but we are going to record this so that other people who cannot attend live with us can at least watch, get introduced to Scott Brills right beneath. I think he's going to film the whole screen. Who is going to be the guide and host for us on our African safari that's coming up this year, November 6th. It's a 10-day tour, and I won't say much because Scott, you're way more poetic at it than I am. But I figured today we could just kind of go through the 10 days that we have with you and then take questions from people who are here and just help maybe solve some curiosities about how to fly in, when to fly in, what can be done before or after as well.
Right. Yes. Yes, indeed. And before anybody goes, huh? Wait a second. What's this white guy from Detroit doing guiding safaris? I am there for the vibes. I am the co-founder of the company along with my partner Josh, who has 25 years of experience. He's a Maasai guy that was born and raised in Tanzania, and our other guides as well, because there will be more than one are also locals from different tribes over there that all have 15, 20 years of experience. So you'll be in good hands. I'm lucky enough to be there with everybody to kind of facilitate the experience. And I'm very much looking forward to that. And I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to safaris and animals and whatnot. Been after doing this for 15 years, but I definitely leave that heavy lifting to my partner and our guides, our expert guides.
I think after 15 years, you can also say you're an expert.
I would never go that far. I guess I just think of myself as a facilitator, but not the guide themselves. I can always point out stuff and but there's so many times even after 15 years where I'm like, what's the name of that bird again? I mean, the guides know the Latin names for these species and whatnot. Like I don't go that far.
Okay, I understand it. Can you give us a quick intro of how you got hooked into this?
Of course, yeah. So in 2010, I actually traveled to Africa for the first time with my father. It was on his bucket list to do a safari experience, and so I was lucky enough that he took me with him for about 2.5 weeks, and we explored all of northern Tanzania in a group of mostly older Americans, and then three guides, three vehicles, so 6 people in each car, just about. And I ended up connecting with one of the guides who was not the lead guide. He was actually an assistant guide at the time, named Josh. And I actually stayed longer in the country. It was planned to go to Zanzibar on my own, and then at the end to climb Kilimanjaro with a friend that was flying down from the UK. And this is before I had a smartphone. And so I actually connected with Josh on text, and he ended up helping me out with logistics, bus rides and stuff like that. I could ask him any question, and he would help me out over the coming weeks. Um, we summited Kilimanjaro successfully, near the end, my friend and I, and then Josh, as kind of like a congratulatory dinner, took us to his home to meet his wife, and at that time, 2 kids. And I remember on the way, just popped in my head. It's like, wow, you're really good at what you do. Obviously, you're so personable. Everyone wants to be with you. Everyone knows you. It's very clear that you love what you do, and you're very much, a lover of animals and the environment. Have you ever thought about starting your own company? And he said, well, I'm looking into diversifying my income through opening up a shop or doing this or that or some farming on the side. I said, well, at this point, I'd already been running my company in web development and IT for maybe 8 years or so remotely. And I said, well, I know your target market, and I know how to start up and run businesses remotely. And I love animals, and I love this experience we just had, and I like you. And you know very much what you're doing on the ground, and you know the animals, and you know the business side of things as far as doing business in Tanzania and the culture there. I said, if you're open to it, I'd be interested in pursuing kind of a partnership and seeing if we could make something happen here. Because even though I never grew up thinking I want to own a safari company in Africa. Um, I'd always been very, very much an animal person, very, very much an entrepreneur and a traveler or wannabe traveler when I was younger and didn't have the means. He luckily said yes, and here we are in our 15th year, and everything's going amazing, and we're leveling up every year in amazing ways. He is the best partner I could have ever asked for. So low friction, it is just, he does his thing, I do mine. We split all the profits at the end of the day, 50-50. We're looking at opening up our own hotel in the city we're based in Arusha, Tanzania, next year. So it's very exciting, and it's something that I think if I told my younger self when I was in fifth grade, in charge of all the classroom animals and researching in library books about what to feed them and proper care and everything, I think I would have been, I couldn't believe it. There's no way I would have believed that I was running a safari company in Africa. So I'm very happy for my younger self.
It shows so much, Scott. It really shows. So I don't know where you would like to take this. Should we jump into some questions, or do you want to talk over our...
If there's any questions so far about like how I got started or about the company in general or Josh or whatnot, happy to take them. Otherwise, I can kind of go over what our general itinerary will be.
general itinerary? Is I
Yeah.
think the census. Let's do it.
All right. Yep. So um, I know you already have some info on your page, but I'll kind of go over it as someone who is very familiar with this sort of itinerary. Although we of course baked in some extra special bits for your group of lucky travelers. So we start off day one. You're going to fly. I'm assuming most people are going to be coming from this hemisphere, from North America. I'm assuming a lot of people. But so it'll take about a day to get over there. Going over to Africa always takes a bit of time, and that's why it's always great if you have extra time to spend it over there, so that you can make the most out of your jet lag and plane fatigue that you endure to get there. But many people will take Delta KLM, which from the US will stop in Amsterdam for about generally 2 hours. You basically just get right on your next flight, and then you have a shorter flight down directly to Arusha, which is Kilimanjaro International Airport, call sign JRO, and we will pick you up from there. It's about an hour and change to drive to the city itself, and that first night, people are going to be coming in at different times, so we may push off the initial, meeting your guides and orientation and whatnot till the next night. We'll see, kind of based on when everyone has their plane tickets figured out. But we'll be taking you to the Serena Arusha Resort. It's a spot just outside of Arusha City, an old coffee plantation house that they've turned into a hotel with a bunch of different individual rooms outside of the main house. So it's one of our favorite properties. We've used it as our number one spot in the city for years now, and it's very quiet and tranquil. And there's monkeys running around, so kind of a nice spot to land in Africa. Because I know a lot of people coming, and a lot of our guests in general over the years, it is generally their first time in Africa. Sometimes people have been to north of the Sahara, maybe whether it's Morocco or Egypt, but for many, many people, I would say at least three-quarters, they come to Africa for the first time with us. So we take that very, very seriously. We want to make sure that everyone has an amazing time and hopefully it comes back again. Whether it's with us or to the continent itself. It's such a huge, diverse place, and we're just showing one little bit. One of my favorite parts, of course, having been to only about half of Africa, but it's like I said, it's a big continent. But there's a reason why we do business focused on that area of East Africa, Tanzania, and then a little bit of Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Zambia. It's because it is so amazing with the safari animals and the cultures and the landscapes. It's Victoria Falls and Ngorongoro Crater and the Serengeti and the Great Migration and gorilla trekking and chimpanzee trekking. It's all there. So there's a reason why we're there, and Kilimanjaro too, of course. So that first day, first night, you'll generally get there in the evening or late evening. The next day, we'll make sure that you're able to sleep in a bit, get over that jet lag, grab breakfast. We're going to take you on a tour of the city, where you'll be with the guides and with myself, and we'll take you around to a few of our favorite do-gooders that are helping to make the area in general in Tanzania and a better place and help out the disadvantaged people there, including like a water filtration maker making like water filters out of clay that are distributed throughout the community for safe drinking water. We're going to visit a albino children's home. Albinism is somewhat common in that area of the world, and at least more so than I would say Europe, let's say. And the people that have albinism are generally very much discriminated against, even sometimes violence. And so there is a safe house there run by a nun who is also an albino, and it's very moving to go there and kind of hear their story. We also have lunch, and we'll go to a disabled person's craft shop where they teach people with various disabilities how to make souvenirs, very cool souvenirs out of recycled materials, especially like recycled glass from beer bottles and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that, and the lunch there is awesome as well. And we'll most likely cap it off with a visit to a market, local market, where you can kind of walk around and join the fray as far as everyone kind of selling their wares, and we'll explain like what everything is and what people go there to buy. And there's like a livestock section, and there's fresh produce, and there's like medicines and stuff like that. So we'll check that out as well. And then that night, we'll most likely do the welcome orientation, where you'll have a proper introduction to everyone and the company, and we'll go over the whole itinerary again, and just what to expect in the upcoming days. Any questions so far, as far as like the arrival and first full day?
No, I think you lost three people here when you said the word monkeys are roaming. That was
They're nice monkeys. They're nice, yeah, they're just they're very friendly. But we, even though we're in the city or just on the outskirts, the monkeys are pretty mobile, so they can they can go where they want, up and down the trees, and you see them kind of chasing each other in the gardens and stuff like that. So that's always fun. um, and then the next day, so we're on day 3. We're going to head to our first safari park. So after breakfast at about 7:30 in the morning, depending on how everyone feels, we're going to head out about 2.5 hours drive to the closest park to the city, which is known for its elephant herds. And we'll spend the whole day there, including a hot lunch, exploring all the animals there. It's elephants, it's lions, tons of zebras, antelope, giraffes. It's a whole bunch of random animals. You've seen The Lion King, you know what to expect. And it's very, of the 3 main spots we're going to go to, 3 main like safari destinations, every single one has a very unique topography, flora and fauna. And so even though some of the animal types will be the same in different areas, it's a very different experience. So this is just our first kind of appetizer course, I would say, because after that we had about 2 hours outside of the city, up onto a mountain next to Ngorongoro Crater, and we will spend the night at a very nice lodge right there, one of my favorite spots to stay. And then now we're on day 4, and we are going to do our first interactive cultural experience, where we are going to visit with the Hadza tribe, which is one of the, it is pretty much the last hunter-gatherer tribe left in that area of the world. There's between 500 and 1,000 of them. They still live very primitively. This tribe has been studied by anthropologists for years, and they've even kind of gotten a little bit famous on YouTube. As far as like, they don't have dwellings. They just kind of throw up some sticks and put some leaves on it, and that's where they sleep. They hunt animals. They're the only ethnic group allowed to hunt animals in the whole country. The rest of it's all considered poaching. So they do that with bows and arrows, which they make by hand. Like they will carve the bow, each arrow individually, put bird feathers on it. You know, amazing shots and amazing ingenuity to create that and then have those skills. We're gonna meet with them and just kind of learn a little bit about the ways of life, and we'll have a local guide who actually speaks their language but is not Hadza. They kind of speak with a very different language that uses kind of clicks and whatnot, and they're considered one of the closest modern ancestors to how we all used to be 10, 15,000 years ago plus. There's a small pocket of people still living very similarly, even though they may trade for something you'll have, like, instead of wearing all animal fur clothing like they would used to, they'll have like a t-shirt on and then the animal fur on top of it. But otherwise, it's very much untouched, their way of life. And we want to continue making it. So we only bring, I would say in a year, maybe 4 groups there total. And it's something we don't even really advertise. Some people have heard of it, and we can, if we think it's a good fit, we'll bring them over there, but we don't want to turn them into a tourist attraction and interrupt their ways of life too much. So, we'll be there with a friend of the tribe and a translator and everything. They know us as well because we have worked together for about 8 years now with this particular tribe. So, we make sure we bring them gifts and everything. We do it very ethically. So we will be with them overnight. So we're not going to be sleeping in those twig huts. We actually will bring proper tents and everything to set up with sleeping mats and sleeping bags. And we'll set off a little bit over to the side of them as to not interfere with what they're doing. And we'll have a chef come with us to prepare a proper meal so that we're not taking food away from them. And we'll go to sleep pretty early so that in the morning, whoever wants to is welcome to get up at the crack of dawn and go hunting with them. Just follow along with them while they're doing what they do every single day. If they do not catch food, they don't eat protein that day. So it's very interesting to have that experience. It's totally optional. You don't have to do that. If you don't feel comfortable, they do move a little bit fast. You can try it out if you want, and then if you feel the pace is a little bit too much, they'll send one of the younger hunters back with you to escort you back to the village. So you don't have to worry about that. But we just want to make it very approachable for anybody that is interested in this, because this is a unique window back to how we all lived, way back many, many generations ago. And this isn't really anything that you'll have that chance to experience anywhere else in the world. There are a few communities, living in parts of the world, Papua New Guinea, South America, whatnot, still living this way of life, but it's many of them are not open to outsiders kind of joining them as much as this tribe is. So if you want to sleep in, you're welcome to. It'll be a normal wake up, and we'll prepare breakfast and whatnot. Anybody that's going on the hunt, you can come back and then eat at that time. And we'll say goodbye to the tribe after we kind of spend a little bit more time with them and learn how the women traditionally are the gatherers, the men are the hunters, and the women kind of go out and they'll show you what berries they pick and how they use different things in their everyday lives, whether it's for medicine or for food. It's very interesting to find out. And we'll head out on our way back to the lodge that we were at the night before. And we may have a chance, depending on time, to visit another tribe on the way that is a completely different ethnic group. They're known for working with metal, and they actually trade with the Hadza tribe to give them their arrow tips. So you see kind of how everything is interconnected there without so much of the transaction of money, but a lot of bartering. And everyone kind of sticks to what they're good at, and the Hadza will trade animal furs, and yeah, it's very, very unique. Does anybody have any questions about the Hadza tribe?
No, I just feel very touched and very special that I didn't know that it was something that you only choose to do with certain groups and a select amount of times a year. So that was really nice to learn. Very.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. we could, easily push it more, and not that it's like a big moneymaker or anything like that. But it is a very interesting experience. But I think that it's only certain types of people that are kind of called to do that. A lot of people just come for the animals, and that's fine. But certain people, and I know, Jamie, when we chatted about putting this together, you said you wanted that experience to meet the people and learn about their ways of life and about their traditional wisdom. And so, I was like, okay, well, obviously we have to visit them because they are the original inhabitants of that part of Africa. All the other tribes that are there, they all came from other places for the most part. And they intermarried and mixed up. And so Tanzania is a very mixed population of dozens of tribes and languages and influence from Oman and Germany and England and India. And so it's a melting pot in very much the same way as Canada or the U.S. is. But it's these are when we talk about like Native Americans, Canadians, these are the native Tanzanians, and there's very few of them left. And the government has been trying for decades to try to get them, kind of like who we did in the West, to get them to abandon their old backward ways and have them go to school and live in houses. Like here's a house, here's free schooling and everything. And the society just doesn't work like that. They don't own really possessions besides their bow and arrow, and everything is very much they live in the moment. They very much live in the moment. Everything is about what you're doing today and tomorrow. And it's a very unique way of life, and it's something I think that should be preserved as much as possible. But the way things are in the world, it won't be. And so this is a very unique opportunity to see this.
Wow. God, thank you.
Okay, so then next day, day 6, we're at. We'll be leaving the lodge to go to Ngorongoro Crater, which is the largest unbroken, unflooded volcanic caldera in the world. It's an extinct volcano, erupted about 1.5 million years ago. And since then, it's volcanic soil, very good for vegetation. What do the animals eat? The vegetation. What eats the animals eat the vegetation, the predators. So everyone kind of goes into this very lush volcanic crater to kind of live their lives. And for a long time, the Maasai people, who are basically pastoralists, cow herders, they would bring their cows up and over into the crater because it was just so lush. So the animals there, over hundreds of years, kind of got used to humans. Of course, the humans would make sure that the lions don't grab their their livestock, but they kind of got used to the presence of humans to the point where it's the spot where you could get closest to the animals of the whole entire trip. You're not supposed to touch them or anything, but we get pretty close. There are some selfie opportunities, and it's very unique as far as the landscape because you have this crater rim. You go up with the crater into the rim, then you go down into it. It's about 12 miles, 20 by 20 kilometers. And we've got the whole afternoon in there, including a picnic lunch. And you've always got the backdrop of the crater walls in all your photos. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Probably one of my most favorite spots, even though it's pretty compact and it can get busy at times. Not so much when we're there, but it is, one of the main attractions of the country. It's just, topographically really, really cool. We'll go there and then we'll actually go back to our lodge. So we're spending let's see, one night at the lodge in Karatu, one night camping, another night in the lodge. So 3 nights at that lodge, which is great because, like I said, it's my favorite lodge. And then we are going to the next day, finally, go to the Serengeti Plains, which is the home of the great wildebeest migration. About 2 million wildebeest and zebra travel together, and the wildebeest all give birth en masse at the same time in February. And it's a very, very cool sight to see. They tend to be scattered around, so you'll see a big group, you'll see a scattering, then another big group, and that's just kind of the way they work. But they're always going in a circular kind of pattern throughout the years. People ask me, when does Great Migration happen? Because that's it's a very Very popular thing. It's been all over all the nature documentaries you've seen on BBC or PBS or CBC and whatnot. And people ask us, oh, when's the Great Migration? Well, it happens all year round. They're following the rains that bring the good grasses in. So 90% of the time, 85, 90% of the time, they're in Tanzania, including when we're going to be there. And then for a bit of the time, the majority of them are in Kenya, southern Kenya, in the Masai Mara Reserve. So we will have, most likely a chance. All these things when I'm talking about nature, of course, and animal sightings, this is all up to nature, but just based on my own experience, we'll have a chance to see them. And then we will go, we'll make our way from the crater area to the park, 2.5 hours. You'll notice all the bits in between the parks about 2.5 hours drive. So nothing too crazy. We will have bathroom stops, of course, when needed. And we'll get to the gate, we'll have a picnic lunch, and then we'll drive it's about 2 hours in the middle of the park, which is the size of the state of Connecticut. It's a huge, huge park. About 8,000 square miles, 15,000 square kilometers. And we will spend the next 3 nights there. So, even on the way to the lodge that first night, we're going to be seeing animals, stopping to check them out. But we are going to spend those 3 nights there, 3 days, checking out everything it has to offer. Every region of the park has different topography, different types of animals. You've got the Great Migration in one part, during that time of year. You'll have the big cats in another part, and we'll see, as much as we're able to in that amount of time. You're talking about waking up in the morning, maybe like 7:30 departure, although we may do one morning where we get up even earlier to see the sunrise. I know Jamie said you wanted to build in some yoga and time for some group work as well. So we'll make sure that you've got plenty of that whenever you want, and then we'll stay out as long as you want. If we could stay out, we could drive until 6, 7 at night. You can't drive at night, but we could be out there for 12 hours if you want. However, if you don't want to, or if you want to do anything back at the camp, we could set that up. If part of the group wants to go back, in a vehicle, or because we're going to have up to 3 vehicles, we can set that as well. So it'll kind of be a choose your own adventure, and I'm giving you what we tend to do, but of course, a lot of it will be on the fly, and we can kind of choose what we want to do based on the energy level of the group, based on any activities that Jamie or anybody else wants to set up. So we will have those 3 days, and it'll be, kind of, like I said, choose your own adventure, with one morning being the optional sunrise hot air balloon safari, in which case you would wake up at 4. This is an optional thing. It's $600 a person. All goes to the balloon company, and we offer it for anybody that wants to, because it is a pretty cool thing to see the Serengeti and the animals from the air. You get up at 4, leave at 5, get there at 6, get in there about 6:30 after the briefing. You're in the air from about an hour and change generally. You'll land, be taken to this setup in the middle of the savannah where they're going to serve you a nice breakfast, champagne, and then you'll reunite with everyone that's not doing the balloon at around 10 o'clock in the morning, and then continue on as normal safaring. So yeah, we'll have those 3 days, and then on the last day, so that'll be day 10, we will head to the airstrip in the middle of the park, and we'll fly back to Arusha, where we started, in order to catch our flights out that evening, or if anybody needs additional nights, because they've, let's say they've got a morning flight out, we can arrange that as well at cost.
Well said. I think you've done this before.
And I, although I did forget to mention that I just was reminded of this, on day 3, after our first safari day in Tarangire National Park, we'll have a chance to visit a Maasai community that have been friends of ours for about 10 years. They're part of my business partner Josh's ethnic group. The Maasai has 4 different ethnic groups within it. So we've become friends with them, and we will visit their encampment, their boma, their village, to meet them, learn about their ways of life, go under their huts and see how they live. The guy just married his fourth wife a few years ago, and she's already on child number two. So his father, I think, had 50 something children, 56 children. And Maasai are polygamist, and they're able to marry multiple women. However, only as many as they can provide for. And even though the parents choose the first wife, generally when they're young, it's arranged marriage, they choose, and then the first wife and the husband choose the second wife. So the wife has a say in it. And she'll oftentimes choose a friend or something like that. And then the third wife, they've got kind of like a way of doing things. So it's very interesting to learn about that. And we're going to also set up, hopefully a medicine man can come to the village and meet with us and kind of explain about Maasai medicine and just kind of like divining and whatnot, which is also very cool. This will only be the second time we've ever done this, so that'll also be very special.
Yes. They do divining work?
Oh yeah.
Do they use twigs?
They'll they use generally plants. They do use it's mostly about just like the plants in the area and poultices, and yeah, they do have a way of finding water as well. I have seen like the divining rod kind of thing used, but yeah, I'll leave it up to the medicine man to explain that. Like I said, we've only done this. It was one time in 2018 when someone specifically asked for this, and we made it happen. And so we're going to call on the same person because it was pretty impactful, and see if they can join us.
Yes. Even Amora was saying that would be a definite highlight of the trip. It
Yes,
will.
yeah, yeah. I know you stressed that to me, in our first conversation. So, want to make sure that we provide all the highlights.
Wendy, did you want to ask about arriving early?
Sorry. Yes, so I'm definitely interested in getting more acclimated before we begin this beautiful itinerary that you put forth for us. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. How would we go about making arrangements? Would we do that through you do you have recommendations on where we might stay?
Yeah, we can just add on extra nights at the spot you'll be at anyway, and happy to do that. I think Jamie and I we figured out it's like two 250 if you're, or wait, 270 if you're a single traveler, and then 200 if you're in a shared room, a person. That includes the 3 meals a day and the lodging.
Oh yeah,
Oh, beautiful.
that's up on the website.
Yeah.
So same
I
as
should.
after and
Mhm.
before.
Yes, yeah, same before and after, because yeah, if anybody needs to stay after on that last day on day 10, and leave on day 11 or even later, we could set that up.
And then of course afterwards.
Yes. And then afterwards, for those that feel like a fun challenge, you've got Kilimanjaro. So that is the most accessible of the seven largest mountains on each continent. The largest mountain on each continent. Of course, Kilimanjaro is the largest mountain on the African continent at 19,341 feet. It's 5,895 meters. But it's a challenge. However, it is hiking. The biggest thing is just the elevation, right? So luckily, we are doing the safari beforehand, and the Serengeti is about a mile of elevation up. So we're already acclimated, as much as we can decently be before the trip, unless you live somewhere very mountainy, and that will help considerably. The other thing that helps a lot is that we have an amazing team that sets the pace, and it's so easy to get overexerted on the mountain just by kind of like walking at your normal pace as you would, in town. They set the pace, you go behind them, and they make sure that everyone is comfortable and healthy. And we just kind of take our time going up, and it is an 8-day trek. So, you start, it would be 2 days after the safari. You've got that rest day and the gear check day and an orientation about that part of the trip after the safari. And then we start, and every day is about I won't take you through all of the days because basically it's hiking every day, but not extreme hiking. You don't need tools. There's no crampons. There's no ice picks. It's just hiking. So you do have the elevation as an added kind of challenge, but that's why we go slow and we make sure that every night everyone has proper oxygen levels. We got a little thing you clip on your finger just to make sure everyone's in the right place. And all of our team is very, very very, very knowledgeable about the mountain. They go up there many times a year. They've been doing, our head guide's been doing it more than 20 years, David. And this will be my fifth time up. Every time's been different. Weather's different. We start off at 8,000 feet. You go through the jungles. And then the second day you kind of get into the open plateau. And then the third day it gets like rockier, less trees, and just kind of natural progression up until you get to summit day. Summit day is tough. I always tell people, there has to be, if you want a good story, a good type 2 adventure at the end, you need a little bit of suck. And that is the tough part, is just summit day. Honestly, the rest of the time, when you're doing 4 to 6 or 7 hours of hiking each day, it's not super challenging for most people in many instances. Obviously, like I said, weather could play a role, but generally it's not too tough. But yeah, summit day, you're waking up after sleeping during the day as much as you can, at 11 p.m. And leaving the camp after a bit of food at 12 a.m. And you follow in the dark up the mountain, those last 4,000 feet or so, to the summit, reaching there for sunrise. And then you go another 45 minutes or so to the real summit, take your photo in front of the sign, and then you get the heck off that mountain. Because at that point, you'll be tired, you'll be exhausted, and you'll want to get down to where there's more oxygen. So, we'll make sure that everyone has accompaniment if they need it to get back down. You just go down the same way you came, just kind of switch backs up the mountain. And then we will get back down to camp, take a quick nap, quick food break, and then we continue back down, because the quicker you can get down from the higher elevation, and at that point, base camp is about 15,500 feet. We want to get down to like 12,000, because you'll recover a lot quicker, you'll sleep better, you'll have more appetite, etc. When you get down to a lower elevation, your body will thank you. So even though that day is long, summit day is very long, and you'll want hiking poles. Either you bring your own or you can rent some in town when you go down, just to save your knees. It's very very rewarding. When you do that, it's a heck of an accomplishment. And like I said, it's the most approachable of all the mountains, but don't let that fool you. It's still a worthy challenge, and it's something you can be very proud of, and you'll have tons of stories to share after you're done.
Oh my God. I'm still on the fence. I have made
It's not, honestly, it's not for everyone. But it's my job to kind of give you the information you need so you can make that decision for yourself, whether you want to do it or not. We have had people in their teens all the way up through late 60s, early 70s do it. I know, the record, I think, is someone 86 did it. And like I said, it's all about pacing. Yeah, training can come in, more heart health training, cardio you've done, the better. I should mention, you're not carrying everything up the mountain. We have a wonderful group of porters that do this for a living. So they're carrying the bulk of your gear, your tent, your sleeping bag, sleeping pad, pillow, all the stuff that you don't need during the daytime up and down the mountain. They are amazing. They are just ridiculous. Like they leave after you pack up camp, and then you see them breezing by you when you're struggling up the mountain. And then by the time you get to camp, it's already all set up. Food is being cooked. It's crazy, the stamina of them. And so you're just carrying a day pack. You're carrying, like a camelback for water, rain jacket, some snacks. That's it. So you've got a pretty light pack on. I would say, maybe 10 pounds or something like that. So, it is just like light pack or light hiking when it comes to that.
Amora made a little comment saying, that she hopes that the porters are well paid. Bless their
Yes.
hearts, which is a very Southern statement, but a more that made me think of one of the reasons why I really enjoyed working with Scott is that he takes, I don't know how to, like, you put the work back into the people's hands. Like, you're not just, I don't know how to say that. You take care of the culture of the people. You're not using them by any means. That
Yeah,
was
that's one of the core tenets of what we do is, I am not from there, yet I make my living in part from doing this. And so I want to make sure that we give back to the local community, that everyone's happy doing business with us, and that the whole community grows as a result of us being there and deriving our sources of income. So even with the safari guides and with our mountain staff as well, we actually pay them a wage. Because you're like, well, of course. No, most companies don't do that. They actually rely 100% or close to 100% on tips, gratuity from guests to make a living wage. So, that means, okay, let's say they have a group of people from Japan. Well, Japanese aren't used to tipping. Even if they know about tipping, number one, it's awkward for them. Number two, it's they don't really know how much to give, and they may even like read online like, oh, like there's a range this much to this much, and they'll just be like giving like the least amount possible. We found it to be just a lot better for the customer experience and for the guides and staff that we work with to include a very competitive wage from the get-go, and we build that into our pricing. And then I tell our guests, hey, if you feel like anybody goes above and beyond when you're working with them, Safari or Kilimanjaro or whatnot, feel free to bring some cash to show your appreciation. But I just want to make sure that like everyone knows it is already built in. We're paying everyone well. That's how we attract the best talent, and that's how the best talent keeps working with us. And that's also how when you're with them, they're happy. It's a big part of it, right? Because if you're doing a trip and you're working with people that don't know how to tip, or you figure like they're not going to tip much, you're not gonna be as happy as you would be if you knew you're like making decent wage, because a lot of these guys have families, they got children that they need to provide for. And so and I say it is, there are a lot of guys. However, we do work with some women on the mountain and with the safaris, and we will be shooting to get some of them with our group as well, because I know that it will be a largely female group, I'm guessing, Jamie.
so far.
Yep, yep. So we want to make sure to do that as well, because I feel like that gets you a different perspective. Even though we'll be with Josh, and he's amazing and great and everything, it's a very just different world over there for women in the industry, and there's very few of them for many reasons. Patriarchy and just historically, and the fact that many of the companies don't want to invest in training women because they figure that they'll just go off and have a baby and just get out of working, and then all that time training them has been wasted, that kind of thing. So we actually have two groups of women from Australia climbing Kilimanjaro, and also doing a side safari. And they said, do we have any women like guides? And said, yeah, there are a few guides, there are a few porters. For the porter thing, that's tough too, because a lot of times just women physically don't have as much of the just natural strength, without the training that a lot of the guides do over there. And so there's a lot of discrimination based on that as well. And so, women, just like in many places in the world, and the US and Canada too, like have to try harder to get to the same level as men. And so I feel like it would be a really good opportunity to have women as a part of the group and to interact with them. And, you could kind of just see how they live their lives over there, and how they make a living, and what they have to go through.
Gosh, I so appreciate your insights and your awareness to all of that. Thank you.
It's something we see, every day, and we're really trying to be a part of the change as much as we can.
Does anybody that's with us have any questions? Kayleen, you want to jump in?
It's almost like you're reading my mind, Jamie. I actually have more like logistical questions about as a chronic overpacker. I really want to be strategic in what I buy and bring on this trip. So if you can give us some advice on clothing, whether or not there's particular brands that you recommend, or just types of clothing, any advice you have there?
Yes, so we have a whole packing and preparation guide that I'll make sure is sent to everybody. But just overview, it is generally in the low 60s at night and the mornings. It is up to like the high 80s, low 90s, and sunny but dry during the afternoons. The hottest day will be our first day of safari in Tarangire because we are at a lower elevation, about 2,000 feet. Otherwise, like I said, we'll be at about 4,500, 5,500 feet in elevation in the Serengeti. So what I like about that is not only the elevation temperature, but also that it leads to less bugs. So we don't have to worry as much about mosquitoes and other like bitey, annoying insects, luckily. So what that means is layers. So when you go out in the morning or you come back to the camp, you shower up, get ready for dinner, and change clothes. Generally in the evenings, I will put on pants and long sleeve just in case there are any little mosquitoes buzzing around. And in the daytime, a hat, wide brim if you can get it, because you got to watch out for your neck because the sun there, we're near the equator, it's pretty strong. And then you can dress, like a light jacket just to stay warm in the morning and then take it off because it once the sun comes up and it beats down by like 9 a.m., then you start feeling the heat. We will be covered. We're not unlike one of those totally open vehicles. We do have sides to it and a top pops out. So you can just sit down. Everyone's got a window seat, or if we see something, we'll have the window, or we'll have the top. Generally, during the whole safari, we'll have the top popped up. So you just stand up and you got a 360-degree view of whatever's around us. So you will always have that top above you, so you don't have to worry as much when you're in the vehicle about the sun coming in. It would just be through the gaps in the open windows or whatnot. But yeah, when we're in the vehicle, we're largely protected from most of the sun. And the windows, of course, are tinted in a way where it blocks about 95% of the UV rays. So that also helps. But that being said, bring your sunscreen, put it on every day. Nothing worse than starting off the trip with a sunburn. I've done it.
I liked one time you mentioned the zip-off convertible pants.
Mhm.
It's like a
Yeah.
hot
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. So like for me, obviously everyone's different. You know how cold you might get. I just wear shorts the whole time, except for at night when we go to dinner. After we shower and clean up for dinner, I'll wear shorts, and it's a little bit like chilly depending on when we leave in the morning. But I know that really quickly it's going to get warm, and so I don't even bother with that. But yeah, there are like many brands of convertible pants, Patagonia, REI, whatnot, where it's lightweight fabric, and you can just unzip the bottoms of it, and then voila, shorts. So that is an option if you choose to go that way. And they're lightweight and they're generally UV protectant and kind of bug protectant as well.
and you also talked to me about wearing neutral color tones.
Yes, good point. Yes, so the animals, there's two things to kind of avoid as much as possible. It's not going to like ruin the trip if you wear a black t-shirt or something, but just want to let you know that dark colors, so dark browns, dark blues, blacks, dark grays, the bugs will see that as an animal. So you will be more attractive to the bugs. So if you want to stay away from that, don't wear those dark colors because they'll be landing on you, whether it's not even to bite you, but just to annoy you. So you may want to stay away from that. The other thing to avoid is bright colors, this, or reds. There's a reason why they use red flags in bullfighting, and it's because animals are particularly sensitive to colors like that. And it tends to, they're not going to charge us like bulls, because bulls, they're kind of like trained that way. But it will potentially scare them off a bit. And of course, we want every chance we can to be around the animals while they're comfortable so that we can spend time with them, take photos and stuff like that. So stay away from the bright colors. So that's why Jamie mentioned the neutral colors, the khakis, olive, tan, stuff like that. The more you can kind of fit in with the colors of the environment, and of course our vehicles are also tan, they're also like khaki colored, the better. But I don't want you to have to spend hundreds of dollars on a new wardrobe, but just keep this in mind.
It's a good point. I also put up the link to the website because I do have those suggestions under suggested packing,
Awesome.
luggage, footwear as well. And then on the website, I also took, and this is all directly from Scott and everything that he put together, is accessories, mobile phone and internet and Wi-Fi access, immunizations, visas, et cetera, et cetera. And before we depart, months before we depart, we'll gather as a team and also walk through all of this and make sure that you have everything together. And of course,
Especially for Kilimanjaro. We may even do a separate one, for anybody that wants to do Kilimanjaro, just to make sure everyone's prepared. Because I know, you can read stuff and just kind of gloss over things, or some people just don't read because they just don't have the time or whatnot. So whenever we do a group climb up Kilimanjaro, I found it's always good to do like that last check. We'll do it again in person on the ground. But at that point you're already over in Tanzania, so it's good to do it before you leave and make sure that everyone's comfortable and got everything they need and all their questions answered.
speaking of questions answered, does anybody else have anything on the tip of their tongues?
Yes, Wendy.
Just go, Wendy. Go, go.
I won't be high maintenance, I promise. You mentioned Delta KLM
Yes.
as probably the dominant airline we'll take. Are there others we should be looking at? I'm
So
going.
how many people are around Atlanta? I don't know how geographically close we are. Okay. Well, so if you're around a Delta hub especially, so that's Seattle, Atlanta, Detroit, LA, then it's really easy because you just have one flight to Amsterdam and then a quick layover and then another flight and then you're there. However,
Okay.
many airlines fly there. So you've got Emirates, Qatar, Swiss Air, Ethiopian, and then you've got I think United is partnered with Qatar, and Americans partnered with like Emirates. But you've got a lot of choices. So I would go on Google Flights and just see what all your options are as far as routing and pricing. And if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, then you can set a flight alert and see how the pricing tracks. If it happens to dip, then you grab it then. But Delta tends to be the most direct route. However, that depends on what airport you're coming from.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, also Kenya Air from JFK. That's another option.
Nice. All put to memory. Scott.
Been doing this for a while now.
Okay, I can't think of anything else to bring to the table. Is there something that we haven't covered that you feel is important for someone coming into this brand new to know?
uh, I would say, a bit self-serving and biased, but like this is a great opportunity to do a safari and/or Kilimanjaro if you've been looking to do it. Because I know Jamie's getting a really good group together, and there's nothing more fun than traveling with like-minded individuals, especially to somewhere for the first time that for some people can be like a little bit daunting. It's really nice to be traveling with people that know what they're doing, and a like-minded group. And I know, Jamie's got like a really fun itinerary, even within what I talked about, put together as far as like group activities and whatnot. So I think this would be a very unique, fun way to do it.
Yes, and Kayleen, before you jump in, I was just reminded in my head that even health or mobility issues, like we are not wheel accessible, but if somebody walks with a cane or needs some assistance, that can be provided for throughout the safari, correct?
Yeah, and we've even got steps we could put on the vehicles to make getting in and out easier. Because we do deal with, we've had guests that have some mobility challenges. So we've got that set up. Obviously, they may want to skip the hunt part, but other than that, we're very, very accessible. We try to do what we can to make that happen.
It's really nice. All right, take it away, Kayleen.
Well, I know we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to touch on real quick on the back end of our trip. Some of us may be going to Zanzibar.
Mhm.
Is there anything that we should know about Zanzibar in advance of heading over there?
So Zanzibar used to be an autonomous, it used to be a separate country run by the Omani Sultanate for a while. It was the capital of the spice trade in the Indian Ocean, that part of the world. They gained independence from the British in 1961, and then they united with the Tanzanian mainland in 1964 to become the country of Tanzania. So Tanganyika, and then and then Zanzibar became Tanzania. So right now, it is a really hop-in spot to spend some R&R on the white sand beaches and the crystal clear blue waters, at the pool or at the beach or on a sunset cruise or snorkeling or diving or going on a spice tour where you see where the spices are made, like in your kitchen cabinet, how they're grown and harvested, and you can taste them right off the plants and whatnot. And also the capital of Stone Town, which is a really cool spot to just kind of wander around the maze-like streets and get lost. That's where Freddie Mercury was born and lived in his childhood, actually. And so very unique, different culture than where we're going to be. Mostly Muslim in Zanzibar, and they have their own government and everything. It's kind of autonomous, but they work together with the mainland. But yeah, you would be up near the beach areas, and it's very, they're very used to tourists being there, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, am I okay to wear a bathing suit or something? No, that's totally fine. There's bathing suit, there's alcohol and everything. It's very moderate Islam. But yeah, very unique tropical island that's only an hour flight away from Arusha. So I would say like half of our guests end up going there after safari or Kilimanjaro trek for 3-4 nights is pretty typical, and a great way to unwind before you take that long flight back.
And we also on the website, I have the information that Scott shared with you on the website, as well as things to do, restaurants to visit, what to expect, like all kinds of things. So
yeah, and happy, even though like it's a choose your own adventure kind of thing. We will assist with the transfers and the air ticket and the accommodation, all that stuff. But day to day, there's so many things you could do. The hotel could help you out with that, or there's plenty of people just little spots on the beach. We've got a recommended spot for scuba diving and snorkeling, and recommended spots for like to get a sunset cruise. And yeah, there's so many things you to go fishing. You can go to like a turtle sanctuary. There's all these things to do, but a lot of people just like to go there and just spend some time on the beach.
I can feel Wendy getting so excited. This is so incredible. Thank you so much for all of your time today, Scott. I really appreciate it. It helps convey what is being put together and why it's so special. I mean, I learned new things today. Painted more of
I'm just happy that it worked. The platform worked, and unlike last time, that was rough. I'm happy that we were able to do this so seamlessly.
and I will get this uploaded. And if there's any questions that we have, I'll certainly reach out.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone is free to reach out to me or to Jamie, and anytime via email. We're always open in case you have any questions. Happy to get that information to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Well, I'll release you back into the wild to get on with your next travels. And we'll see you again online before we begin our adventure in November.
definitely. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.